Hello, everybody. It's Shannon, the Wealth Alchemist, coming to you from the eye of the storm here in Zürich, Switzerland. Welcome to also a special episode of what normally is my weekly voice bite, normally published on Thursday via my Wealth Pack platform. And it's usually a mixture of market goings on, philosophy, and anything else I cobble together that I think will add holistic wealth value to my members' lifestyle. The podcast will serve a few functions for you today. One is to acknowledge all of the people at Credit Suisse who have woken up to a veritable nightmare this last week. Two, for the people outside of Switzerland who might want to have a bird's eye view from Zurich in the heart of it all, in the eye of the storm, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, and just kind of maybe put a little context around some of the stuff that's happened and, well, what might happen from here. Also, for anyone who wants a bit of insight into how to maybe reflect on what's going on, and whether you're in the banking industry or outside the banking industry, whether you work for Credit Suisse or UBS, how can you take some good lessons from this, some learnings, and they'll be coming fast and furious, but perhaps maybe how to start building a mindset to address a lot of the heaviness. And if you're not in the eye of the storm, if you're not at one of these two banks or any bank in general, I think you can learn a lot from what's going on here, as far as also kind of developing your financial go bag. And I'm thinking about putting on a little course on that topic alone. Then finally, reiterating the importance of holistic wealth, iteration, resilience, building a personal net worth that is more than just a number. And I don't want to be flippant about that. It's not that money doesn't matter, because a lot of us are going to be faced with a real clear understanding of why having kind of diversified assets, why having liquidity, why having a good understanding of your overall personal risk profile are all really important topics. But in addition to that, kind of as a layer onto that, is just helping to build that inner resilience as people are facing job losses. How can they build that inner resilience so that, they don't take it personally, that they can sort of look at things that bring them joy, things that provide a source of pride for them. How can this maybe be wrapped into the next adventure? Maybe not, but I'm putting a lot in here. It'll be about 20 minutes long, 25 minutes. And it's going to also have a bit of a personal note. It's going to have a critical perspective, an explanatory perspective, and ultimately a hopeful perspective. So let's rock on with the downfall of Credit Suisse and the epidemic of long-term short-termism. So to kick it off again, I just want to send a very heartfelt message of strength to all of those CS employees going into a very uncertain future today. Many of you, if you listen to this, will find yourselves dramatically different, facing a dramatically different future than you ever would have imagined only 1 week ago. Some of you will be lucky, and I hope more than some of you will be lucky and keep your position within the new entity with UBS. But even those of you who do keep your position, you're probably going to feel trepidation around cultural assimilation. We have the same opportunities as others who are already at UBS. There's probably going to be some growing pains in bringing these two very old and unique institutions together in light of, sort of potential further contagion. I hope not, but there will be aftershocks around the world from this. Then some of you might use this as a springboard to pursue a long-held dream because you didn't have the opportunity, or let's maybe say you didn't want to take a risk when you were earning good money. And that's very common. And I'll come and circle back to this at the end. But recessions and depressions actually build some of the most amazing companies, because that's when people finally say, all right, I may as well go for it now, because what do I have to lose? So let's see. I do want to end on a positive note, but I also want to be transparent, and I want to let you know just how badly a few people screwed this bank up badly. So, on with the discussion. All right. Some of you might also be shell shocked, just kind of not knowing what to do if you're in this situation. And I kind of want to, I want to be sensitive to that. And I don't know in the end who will be listening to this, but I want to open it up and invite people, if you want to text or email me with any questions or worries, or you need a sounding board. I really want to do whatever I can to open up this platform, because again, this may also have the knock-on effect of creating some instability within homes where there was one income earner or one core income earner. And in Switzerland, that tends to be a man, and even more so within a company like Credit Suisse. So there may be some women listening here who you did not think that your world could be turned upside down, and maybe you're not sure what's going to happen. So really invite you into this conversation, and not to just listen, but to really reach out if you need to, because I've been through my fair share of booms and busts, and I have the scars, but I have the resilience and the hope and the positive can-do spirit to help get you through it. So don't go through this alone if you can help it. All right, let's recap on just kind of the last 24 hours, really. So for those of you who've not been here in Switzerland or are watching so closely, my community based in Zürich, again, home of both UBS and Credit Suisse, are all going to be extraordinarily impacted by this. And so we feel it. My husband works for the company. We've got friends that work for the company. And this is very scary for a lot of people. Zürich is also home to about 25% of expats. And that number grew by about 12% in the last 10 years. Zürich is a very international city, and it's increasingly become so. It has the most expats out of all the cantons in Switzerland, and it is the biggest single financial contributor to the entire country. So this canton or district or state, maybe you can call it from the English perspective. So Zurich will be extraordinarily impacted by this if the Swiss government and UBS don't come up with a very sensible transitionary plan for those people who will definitely lose their jobs, as well as the people who are going to be in limbo for a while. I do believe that the Swiss government is in a good position to react. They've already reacted so far, and I do believe that they will understand how detrimental it will be if so many people lose their jobs and don't have a financial backstop in some instances to handle this. So I'm hopeful that they will encourage Credit Suisse and UBS to honor, some social plans as well, which I know are, I think, part of the plan. I don't know in any way, shape, or form the details, but let's hope for that. So here's some highlights from just that have come out from this merger already. So if you haven't already heard, UBS agreed to buy Credit Suisse in what is a historic government brokered all-share deal. Now, the price per share represents a 99% decline from Credit Suisse's peak in 2007. Shareholders don't get to vote on this, and it's going to, in the end, probably cost UBS around $3 billion with some additional guarantees from the Swiss government. Holders of what's called AT1 bonds have been wiped out. Credit Suisse's roughly $16 billion worth of risky notes are now unfortunately worthless, and it will trigger a complete write-down of these bonds to increase the bank's core capital, meaning that those creditors have actually had a worse deal than shareholders because they now at least have some UBS stock. And that is not normally the case. Usually bondholders have a credit priority over shareholders, but there's many reasons why that happened. I won't go into that now. The Swiss government is putting a lot of taxpayer money to kind of back up some of the risk and ensure that UBS goes through with this deal. If UBS tries to sell off some of the hard-to-value assets that Credit Suisse has, and it results in some losses, UBS will take about 5 billion of those losses, and 5 billion Swiss francs, and the next 9 billion will be borne by the government. So this implies some pretty serious potential concerns of more than liquidity, but solvency, probably on behalf of UBS. The Swiss National Bank last Thursday had given Credit Suisse about a $54 billion backstop for liquidity, but over the ensuing 2 days, it just became untenable, even though actually just a month ago, from a liquidity and Tier 1 capital, Credit Suisse was not in a bad position, but the erosion of trust over the last couple of years, for some very specific reasons that I will highlight here in a few minutes, along with the fact that Silicon Valley Bank just failed, Signature Bank failed, and then is it First Republic that almost failed. So people are not willing to risk their funds, and so a massive billions and billions of dollars were being transferred out of the bank, which kind of accelerated the emergency. So we're in an extreme situation, and the governments are acting on that. Just a little background on Credit Suisse. It's a 167-year-old institution, and the demise was certainly preventable, but actually not surprising if you look back at what's been going on for at least the last 10 years, but probably you could argue before that, but the last 10 years has proven to be just really, a shit show. So let's look at one of the people that presided over this. The chairman, last year's outgoing chairman, a gentleman known as Urs Rohner. He was made chairman in 2011, and he, in my opinion, this is my personal opinion, deserves a significant amount of the ear of everybody, as well as the entire board. So I don't personally understand how this man maintained his chairmanship since 2011. It's such an example of gross, negligent cronyism, along with, sorry to say, but a level of lubed up, circle jerk corporate cultism that hasn't been seen since perhaps the days of the Yahoo ego. Yahoo, just to kind of give you an example of why I'm referring to them and their stupidity, they turned down the opportunity to buy Google for $1 million in 1998, then offered $3 billion 4 years later, realizing, shit, they got it wrong. But Google said, you know what, we've made some pretty good progress, Yahoo. We think we're worth $5 billion. And Yahoo said, nah, can't do it. And so they turned it down. And that would today represent about 0.5% of the value today. Then in 2006, Yahoo wanted to buy Facebook for $1.1 billion. But another dumbass CEO lowered the price at the last minute to $800 million because Facebook was only making $20 million at the point. They weren't looking at the future. They weren't looking at strategy. They were looking for deals, ego M&A deals to make them look cool and good. But they were stupid. They had 6 CEOs in the span of 20 years. And this M&A ego relegated them to the halls of loser.com history. The M&A purchases were just all about ego and not about strategy. They just wanted their street cred. So that's why I'm making the Yahoo reference. I just want to put that in a little bit of context for you people. Yes, I'm old enough to go back to the .com era. Okay, back to Urs. He became initially Credit Suisse's chief lawyer in 2004, vice chairman from 2009 to 2011, and then he became chairman, as I just said, in 2011. After 10 years under his sheer inept leadership, the share price lost 75% and ultimately now worthless. He not only left his firm in shambles via a Jason Bourne-style scandal, fraud, and what seems to be kindergarten-level risk control, but he was also responsible for hiring some of those worst offenders in the organization. He is responsible for hiring not the worst of them all, but certainly a gentleman who just made it all worse, Tijan Tiam, who was someone coming out of the business consultant arena. And he took his little business consultancy playbook and he slashed the costs and the jobs at an alarming rate. He did kind of increase the health of the bank, so we have to give him credit for that, sort of. But he got caught up in a Real House Husbands of Zürich spying scandal with another one of his senior managers, Iqbal Khan, who ironically left CS to go to UBS. You really can't make this shit up. Tiam, during his tenure, earned around 40 million Swiss francs, compared with the bank's accumulated losses of 6.5 billion francs during that time. He did increase their wealth management presence around the world. It wasn't a complete imbalanced scenario, but he also did not engage with employees or shareholders, and he was just kind of treated the entire firm as his big consultancy project. So instead of investing as well in their prehistoric platform, digitally, like not there, maybe looking at a few small fintech acquisitions, reading the room on the future of finance, which they were in a good position to see. They would have seen a lot of these fintech companies coming up. They are a global bank. They just threw billions of dollars at short-term little fixes, thinking they could just kind of cobble something together. Nobody look, we're not keeping up. We can't compete with these challenger banks and fintech banks with their new, shiny, much more efficient platforms. But, we're going to do smoke and mirrors to kind of pretend like we're solid and we're cutting edge. But they weren't. They were antiquated. And it was becoming slowly clear that they were heading towards an iceberg. But Urs, instead of maybe trying to nudge the iceberg, he decided to full speed ahead, people, right into the iceberg. So what did he do? Well, one of his last moves before leaving as the chairman in disgrace with $47 million was to hire a woman by the name of Laura Warner, who had, hear this with all caps, no prior risk management experience. All caps, no prior risk management experience as chief risk officer. According to Wikipedia, I can't comment further on that, but it was a diversity hire. Now, it's kind of a shitty thing to say anyways. I'm hiring her just because she's a woman. But why not a woman who actually had some experience? I know you could have found one. I don't know why you did that. Maybe it was another ego hire, make you feel good about yourself. This woman, I don't know. I don't know anything about her. Word on the street wasn't very good. But why did the rest of the board agree to this woman being hired? No experience in risk. What the hell? They didn't give a feck. That's why. So with impressive efficiency, Lara quickly went on to preside over, firstly, a $3 billion client loss from Greensill, and further alarming efficiency, preside over the collapse of Archegos Capital, costing Credit Suisse a further $5.5 billion, exposing once again risk management problems. Well, more than problems really understates it, right? Something Urs, chairman of the bank since 2011, had promised to reform in the aftermath of that pesky financial crisis. Urs is, and this comes straight from Wikipedia page, considered one of the worst chairmen in Swiss banking history. Unfortunately, like to John, he has a big pile of the company's, the shareholders, and employees' money to comfort him at night. All right. Hearing these stories will probably make your blood boil. They do mine. But nobody as much as those loyal employees of the firm who are not the egotistical, power-hungry, nepotistic bobbleheads at the highest echelons of the business. These are the people just executing and doing their best in difficult circumstances. And it was the clients really who ultimately called time of death. Boom, after the Saudi comments on Wednesday, which also, I have to give it to them. That was a stunning own goal by really saying we are not giving them any more money, and sent basically that was ringing the bell, the death knell. The client said, all right, I am taking my money out. And that was just billions and billions were coming out of the bank, forcing the Swiss National Bank to provide a backstop. I think they thought that that would give people confidence, but it quickly turned sour because people were not. The trust was gone. They just didn't want to wait around. They were not going to wait around anymore. So money was flying out of the bank. And therefore, over the weekend, we had the shotgun marriage of a very pregnant Credit Suisse bride and, I suspect, a reluctant but obedient UBS groom. So today, the employees of CS, including my husband, including some very close friends, and around the world, get to go spend the next 3 to 6 months trying to figure out how devastating this is going to be for their families and their finances. Now, sidebar on this, I have to say that if this were happening, well, I don't know what happens to the employees in America, to be honest with you. Switzerland does have some very good safeguards in place for unemployment, and they have a social plan that will probably be enacted. I don't know what that's going to look like, if that's based on years at the firm, but I think it's highly, highly unlikely that anybody's going to find themselves without income within the next 3 months. And I would guess it could be 6 to 9 months, but let's just see. So our family is a well-oiled machine. It booms and busts. We've been through several of them. We've learned through each of them, and we're not going to panic. We've already been sort of paring back our excess costs over the last 3 years. So we've kind of actually, without predicting any of this, we had to make some financial decisions ourselves after I actually went back to work at both Societe Generale and UBS. We decided to really not increase or have a massive lifestyle increase. We had a little bit, not massive, and we plugged a bunch of money away so that we could buy a property here in Switzerland, which is extraordinarily expensive. And also you have to put 20% down. Everybody does, so you can't get around that. Anyway, so just personally, we have already just been in kind of a lean place. And so maybe that's one reason why I'm not panicking. It doesn't mean it can't get bad, but we've already been quite disciplined the last couple of years. And, my children have also gotten used to that. And the older ones have regular jobs wherever they can while they're going to school. And I also stopped spending stupid, silly money trying to keep up with certain friend circles that were based on how often you could go to eat, how many concerts you can go to, FOMO all over the place. If this person is going, everybody has to go, and whatever fancy took them. So that's been actually quite a good financial positive out of other negatives. But anyway, I keep a tight friendship circle, and it's not based on how much money I need to spend in order to keep up with the FOMO. So that's real life, though, and we all have our own stories, and we all have our own cycles and our own learnings, and some of us learn quicker than others. And I'm coming to you with this as a 51-year-old woman, and I guess that that's one of the areas where I have added the most value over the years for my clients, is just a guiding hand and to stop them from making any really stupid decisions. And that's why, again, I'm doing this today. I'm going to publish it on the podcast. I'm going to put it up on YouTube, and I hope that anybody out there that needs it will take me up on that. And if you're just feeling like you just need someone to talk this through, or you just need a little guidance, you want to look at some historical returns. These things don't last forever. And I've got a real depth of experience here. So I do want ultimately for this to provide some sort of comfort for all of you. One of the things I talk to my Gen Z kids about is multiple sources of income and side hustles. And, our family over the last also year and a half has been building up a side business that has nothing to do with banking. And this could have some legs on it. It may not. It may take years and always just be a side little business. But given everything that's happened with Credit Suisse, I'm going to actually start spending a lot more of my time trying to build this business, the spicy truffle sauce. It is very addicting. And, I'm going to plug it because it's my podcast, but www.tufosauce.com. Check it out. It's awesome. And it will be showing up all over Europe within the next couple months and hopefully eventually in America. So why did we do that? Because my husband loves being a hobby cook. And he took this years. His dad was like that. His dad made great sauces. Alex grew up with a father who cooked really nice meals on the weekends. And he was playing around with the sauce and everybody loved it. And he just ran with that. And, he hasn't replaced his income with the company, but it's really growing and it's exciting. And so if you are one of those people going through this nightmare at the moment, I don't know, go for a walk every single day. It's a form of meditation, and let your creative mind go and see where there might be areas, if you need to down the road, come up with extra income, doing something that you might enjoy, or helping other people. As Tony Robbins says, find a way to help people, and that's the quickest way to get wealthy. This is, this applies to anybody listening right now, right? It could be another, and it will be another industry. We don't know when. We don't know the timing. There's some people that will, kind of see the red flags, but we all need to look at developing multiple sources of income in our lives. And that's something that I think is hard to tell people in the middle of layoffs, but it is a message that we can get through to younger people and help them build this resilience. But at the same time, I want to give you hope. Anybody who's out there and facing this, I want to give you some hope as well. So just a side note, I don't want to make too much of a big deal about that. I'm a lifelong wealth manager. I was raised by a single mother. I have been on tight budgets up and down throughout my life. And my whole mission here is to take consumers and turn them into asset owners. I want people to deprioritize ego and status. And I want you to prioritize emotional and physical well-being, but also financial well-being, but not because other people will admire you more or, pray to your, whatever car that you've got that you think is going to make everybody admire you. This will never lead to a life of true joy. I know people who have a lot more money than me and are totally miserable, and beyond miserable, they want to, stab other people with their misery. So trust me, money is not going to solve all the problems, but you do need financial wherewithal to ride you through these rough seas. And again, keep in mind that there's some other people at this bank specifically that really forked this up. And so if you're someone who's 50 and you are being let go, your entire department, and it's going to be hard to find a new job because UBS doesn't need those positions, I would just really want to send you my sincere encouragement and inspiration to go out there and actively search for a silver lining, a rainbow, the pot of gold at the end of it. You might have to look hard. You might have to be creative, but just try. Don't let these stupid, maniacal, egotistical, unethical, ineffective corporate dumbasses let you feel bad about yourself. They failed all of you, their clients and their industry. And I hope the shareholders of the world will take a close, hard look at the people that they agree to be on the boards. These companies, especially the ones that are too big to fail. This will be followed up by a report on an excessive amount of stock buybacks going on in the U.S. within U.S. companies. And there's danger ahead because there's a lot of those companies out there that are just manipulating the stock price. They're buying their shares back so they look more profitable per share, and they are not investing in R&D, and they will be the yahoos of tomorrow. That's a follow-up report, but I'm fired up, people, all right? The financial system and all of the people in it, us, we deserve better. We deserve to have accountability for these stupid, reckless actions. We deserve transparency. We deserve leadership that does not sacrifice the many for the few. Are you listening, board members of Credit Suisse? Personally, I don't think you should ever be allowed to be on another board. And I hope nobody puts you on another board, even if you started 2 weeks ago, which wasn't the case, but no bueno. You're only looking after yourselves. You've truly failed everyone, including a 167-year-old Swiss institution. Well done. To all of you Credit Suisse employees who did not directly contribute to this downfall, which is most of you, keep your heads held high. Put on those creativity shoes. Today's greatest companies were founded during god-awful economic environments, recessions, and depressions. The phoenix will rise from the ashes. Disney is one that was founded during the Depression. If we look at just the financial crisis, you've got Instagram. You've got, Amazon came about with, a little bit before the dot-com era and afterwards. There's just a host of them. I've done a little report on that. But dig into your network. Get out a whiteboard and have a dreamscaping session with no limits. Hug your loved ones. Be grateful for your health. Don't let this accelerate any health issues. Please take care of your health and take this opportunity to look at how you might design your future. I know that maybe this message is coming just a little bit too quickly. Maybe it's all going to be a bit raw, but it's just food for thought at the moment. Maybe you come back and listen to this again a couple months down the road when you're ready to hear it. And everybody out there who's not in our little bubble, in our world, not knowing what's coming, this is a good thing for you to pay attention to. We need to demand more from the people that run the companies that we work for or that we are the clients of. And more to come on that. Take care of you. And again, one more time, please reach out, Shannon at the-wealth-alchemist.com. You can go to my website. You can leave comments here. I will continue to try and advocate for, the Main Street guy. I come from Wall Street. I know what goes on behind these closed doors. I know how oftentimes they're only looking out for themselves. And I'm here to change that.